Good morning. I'm Francesca Elisabetta Owens with Travel from the Inside Out, and I am responding to Authority and Medium's magazine interview, which is why cultural sensitivity matters in business. It says, can you please share 5 reasons why cultural sensitivity is so important in your business? So, because my business is international and I deal with people around the world and I travel around the world, I am dual citizen, bilingual. I've lived in Italy for 18 years full-time and 10 years about 4 months out of the year. I have a major global representation in not only clients, but in also the people and vendors I work with. So in Italy, number one, there's something called making a bella figura, which means making a really good impression. And I've got a little cheat sheet down here that you'll see me looking down and using. Making a bella figura ensures respect for other cultures' game rules. Their game rules, not just ours. You can't just keep looking at, me, America, because that's a problem, because they have very strong opinions about us. We need to meet them and know what their game rules are. What is seen as appropriate or respectful in the US might not align with the values and norms of another culture. So I'm going to read down the list of 5 and then I'll give you some examples. Another is to show respect and appreciation for other cultures, traditions by listening, learning, and participating in their culture. So I do that in many ways, which I'll give you examples. Number 3, to provide Americans with an honest perspective on global issues, countering biased media narratives offered in the U.S. news. So I lived abroad for many years, came home, and I'm stunned at the things that are happening in the media here. They are so not indicative of what's happening around the world is unbelievable. So talking to numerous foreigners and understanding their side can illuminate and educate you on behaviors they have and opinions they have that seem very perplexing to us. Another one is by engaging with other cultures, encouraging personal transformation and bringing lessons of openness and respect back home. So I bring senior women internationally twice a year. And sometimes the women are shocked at some of the things that they see over there as to why they do things, and something so little that they didn't think they offended anybody. They asked for pepper. They wanted to put pepper on this meal. I'll tell you that story. So another one is just because we were taught something at home or in our school doesn't mean it's correct. For an accurate interpretation of another culture, you often need to have these experiences firsthand. If your only experience is social media, news stations, newspapers, you are getting a biased understanding of the world. It's when you travel abroad extensively and you meet people and you can meet them with their language skills, like I'm fluent in Italian, and I can meet people in other languages because I can throw out keywords between English and Italian. We can meet halfway, and I have extremely intimate conversations. So I'm going to give you an example of my Aunt Assunta, who, when I before I lived in Italy, I would put my purse on the ground. I'd put my carry bag on the ground. She'd smack my arm and tell me to pick it up, and you don't do that. And I'm like, okay. It's not a big deal. It'll get dirty. Well, that was culturally taboo to do that. So with my Aunt Assunta in particular, I learned to submit on all of these things because through the years, I kind of got to see what they looked at. So, and you're not to take your purses and your bags and put them on the table when you come in the house. Absolutely not. They see that the things that are outside are a germ fest, and they don't want you picking up unnecessary germs and poisons, and they don't want you bringing it into the house and putting it on the table. So I learned it's considered disrespectful and unsanitary, and it is somewhat offensive. If when my ladies go out to eat, they put their purses on the table, that's considered disrespectful too. But they can't put it on the ground. So but then if you put it on the back of your chair, you might get robbed. So there's a lot of things that it takes with. Now, another example on local perspectives is this most recent trip. Emanuela, who's the vice president of my business, came to a dinner where I know the owner of this very fancy restaurant extremely well. And they were polite and friendly, loved my ladies, but because I'm fluent in Italian, when the women ordered cappuccino after dinner, the waiter, who is the owner of this fancy restaurant, turns to her in Italian and says, "Can you see this? Look at it. The Americans are having milk after dinner at 10 o'clock at night, dairy, and I bet you they're going to probably order a limoncello right after this," which, because there's these rules that you can't have cappuccinos after 11. Places have become more touristy and they accept that tourists do it. And I order cappuccinos up until about noon because they've accepted me in the village. But in general, that's a little taboo thing. And if you don't invest in knowing these things, so how can I bring employees abroad without knowing these things? Because then I know they snicker behind your back and make comments because they see me as I am Italian, even though I was born in the United States, but I've lived in Italy for the majority, a good portion of my life, the last 30 years. They will discuss with me what they see that the foreigners are doing that they find, and they make fun of all the nationalities. Another one was, what happened to me was a spiritual transformation. In 2006, after my open heart surgery, and actually the first time it happened was 1997, I got so bonded and so connected with the Italian culture and Europe that I realized I started doubting Christianity. I started doubting or believing in the idea of reincarnation. And I ended up becoming Buddhist from this transformation that happened to me going over to Europe. And so if you allow yourself to connect with the culture, like I was deeply connected with the culture, you can have a personal transformation, let alone your employees, and the relationship works much better with the people abroad. Now, another comment here is navigating client conduct. A lot of times I have clients that want to impose their limitations, their parameters, what they've seen on social media, what they believe as the right way of doing things, but foreigners don't see it that way. So I do try to educate my ladies. I had one lady that kept wanting to put pepper on a particular pasta dish, and it offended the chef, and I had to squeeze her knee and look at her and kind of say, back down, I'll explain in 1 minute. And as soon as the owner walked away, I told her, he's about to, if you were to push this argument, you would get kicked out of the restaurant and he wouldn't care. And we would be at risk of all the ladies being kicked out. So with her, we worked it out, and she's learned that there are quirky things in all cultures, and it's good to know about that. Yeah, there was things with egg washing during COVID. You know, I was in Italy, I got my eggs, I was washing them, putting them in the fridge. Oh, an Italian saw I was doing it, and they went over the top on why you don't wash eggs, because the protective coating on the eggs preserves the eggs, but in the United States, they wash the eggs, so therefore they have to be refrigerated. But in Europe, that's not the case. So, cultural sensitivity is not about you, it's about others. But one thing I do want to mention here is that there's been this cultural appropriation movement and cultural appreciation movement, and a majority of the cultural appropriation movement I don't agree with. If you are not a person that was born of that culture, raised of that culture, grew up in that culture, I don't really care what you think. It's the person of that culture that can say what's offensive to them. A wannabe or somebody who looks in from the outside that tries to render judgment doesn't get a say. Often, if you haven't traveled internationally, you don't have international family, you aren't in some type of work position regularly to go international, and your news sources or just the latest movements in the United States, I have found that I have bought jalabas and all types of, these are from Morocco, all kinds of headdresses and outfits. And when I am in the other countries, I will wear them. And when I come home to the United States, I get together with my girlfriends who went on the trips. We put on our costumes or outfits from that culture, and we go out to eat in their restaurants, and we show up wearing authentic clothing from their country. They are ecstatic. They are like, wow, man, you just made my heart feel warm. I've been out of so-and-so for so many years. I haven't been back. And I find that when you are dealing with people who really know about what culture they're from, they can be the authorities on what is offensive and not offensive. But somebody who just says you shouldn't be doing this or shouldn't be doing that, I don't see the source as credible. Sorry. So I travel with business to Greece, the Greek islands, Morocco, Italy. Personally, I've traveled all over the world. I've stayed in host families in Indonesia. I've been to Thailand, spent 4 months during COVID in Mexico. And I have friends from around the world for the last 40 years. And I have people that are volunteers that work with me, and I have clients, and then I have my vendors. And so I have to work this very fine line of educating who's not educated, learning from who I do need to learn about. And that's why cultural sensitivity is so important. If an individual wants to give me their personal opinion and they have no historical actual presence in that country or within that culture, I'm not listening to them. I listen to the people from the culture on the ground, and I learn so much. And they love me, and they adore me, and they respect me because I embrace their culture. And that's part of what I want to do with Travel from the Inside Out. These senior women come home with recipes, lessons, gardening, ways to be more environmentally sensitive. They then will do it with their families and their children, and it just gets extended. Okay, thank you so much. Francesca Elisabetta, travelfromtheinsideout.org is the website, and at Travel from the Inside Out is the Instagram. I do run Senior Women Travel Club Empowering Adventures with Francesca on Facebook, which is a private group for senior women. Thank you and have a great day. Bye.